Hello, welcome to another Jump Off TV debate. I'm Robin. Now last week we spoke about UK artists seeking validation from the US. This week, Skepta and Kanye West sold out a surprise gig in Camden, headlining together. Is Skepta taking grime from the underground to mainstream? I'm going to pose the question, is Skepta taking grime from the underground to mainstream?
I'm jumping in there early, with the underground always remains the underground because that's why it's called the underground. You can never take the underground to the mainstream. All he's doing is taking his sound and he may take it to a point what we might call commercialism. But as for the underground, I've never heard of anyone taking a whole underground. Once someone moves, someone will replace them in the underground. Underground stays underground.
When I say underground, I'm talking about grime.
But this is the thing, why do people feel like because one person is doing it, that therefore speaks for a whole genre of people? Like Skepta's gone in it. Skepta's gonna go through. Skepta's gonna be like he's gonna do what he's supposed to do. But why does that therefore mean that everybody else in the genre therefore it doesn't work like that? Like
there's an underground hip hop scene and there is a commercial hip hop scene, and the underground will remain, and the commercial scene will remain the same.
Kendrick Lamar came out of that like real kind of like new wave underground scene. When Kendrick Lamar blew up and sold millions of records, that was Kendrick Lamar. It didn't mean that every other single artist doing what Kendrick Lamar was doing from that scene suddenly was a light shined on it, because at the end of the day, the dominant form of hip hop was still not the sound that Kendrick Lamar's doing. In the same way, the dominant form of pop culture or urban pop culture in this country is not going to reflect what Skepta's doing. Skepta will be an anomaly that hopefully will manage to make credible music in an otherwise urban pop dominated world. Yeah, I think people have put too much expectation on Skepta. I don't think it's his duty, nor do I think he has the ability to bring a whole scene to the mainstream. The mainstream is not controlled by our rules and the way we work. So for one person to break through and have a cosign which gets them into that world doesn't mean they have the ability to put on everybody in the scene. So I think people need a realistic expectation of exactly what it means if Skepta blows up. And I think this is where things become dangerous. I saw someone tweet recently about people falling into depression when they hit their 30s when it comes to people who've been in music and film. And I think it's because we have these unrealistic expectations of exactly where these things can take us. And I think what's going on right now with Skepta is a prime example. Anybody that's even somewhat affiliated to the grime scene really believes that this is it, this is the moment, this is where everything is going to open up for us. And it's like the unfortunate reality is that there isn't scope for that to happen. The industry isn't set up and doesn't work like that. Like Skepta's good, he's going to be good, he'll be fine, he's going to do well, he's going to be successful, and he may even become an international star, which would be amazing. But what that means for people outside of his immediate circle that he might be able to put on, I don't think it changes what it meant for them last week or the week before.
Don't you think, say like back in the day, when he was coming out with tunes like Bad Boy, where he was collaborating with like singers and coming out with tunes like Cross My Heart, don't you think that was his attempt of trying to take grime that he's always started with and trying to take it and make it chart for the British public?
I feel like he's had his opportunity to maybe go and do that, like a lot of artists have in their career, to try and move and experiment with chart making music. As I said in the debate, tunes like Bad Boy, tunes like collaborating with Priya Kalidas, like Crossing My Heart, all of them records. But now I think it's come to a place where people have learned and they're so proud of their own skin and what they're doing that they don't need to follow a blueprint. Like, they can do whatever they want to do. Grime for Skepta and all of Boy Better Know is like a religion. It's their following. It is them, in and out. They don't need to go out and do anything else to try and, oh, you know what, one day, I'm going to take grime and I'm going to take it to the mainstream. Like, that's what I'm going to... He doesn't need to do that.
I think what he's doing now isn't that. I think what he's actually doing is much more important, because he's actually... You know, Jay-Z said that line, like I can't remember exactly how he said the line, but he said something about, I don't take the hood to the suburbs, I bring the suburbs to the hood. Yeah. That's kind of what Skepta's doing right now. He's not making crossover music. No. He's making music that is credible to his genre, and he's bringing people into that. Yeah. So you can't
I think what Skepta's doing, he's trying to challenge the status quo, because obviously if he's coming Fashion Week wearing tracksuits and wearing Helly Hansen and wearing Sports Direct, he's trying to kind of bridge the gap of I'm not essentially going to go down the route of conforming to what is already out there. So in a sense, he's bringing the underground culture to the mainstream. The problem I take issue with is that, is there really an underground anymore anyway? Because when you kind of destroy the system set up that the Pirates had, and the music made at grassroots level goes straight to the commercial radio stations, where is the underground being represented? And then you kind of wrap into that the whole aspect of there's no real underground club culture anymore in the UK, especially in London, with the closing of clubs and so forth. Where is the underground actually being represented? Is there just a scene? And it's kind of borders are blurred. To be honest with you, I don't really feel like there is an underground per se. I feel like we hold raves and play music which the next day can be played on commercial radio stations. So there isn't that incubation period where something sits in the underground forum, in the clubs, in the estates, in the cars, blaring out the windows in summer, and then maybe 6 months' time it hits commercial radio stations. There's none of that anymore. We're at a place now where the underground raves, so to speak, they're being frequented by gatekeepers, and the gap is being bridged a lot quicker than it was before. The problem with that is that obviously the cycle of music means that things go from the underground, overground, but people get tired of them, and then there's the next tune, and there's the next tune, there's the next tune.
What about if tracks don't obviously make it onto like national radio and whatnot, and they're being played on, say, community radio station, Pirates, and you've got DJs who are still doing their thing, like Siobhan Bell, for example. She's not on no national radio station, but she's going to New York and playing grime and fucking it up.
But the thing I'd say with that is that there seems to be where the underground bedroom producer has whatever, you got SoundCloud or YouTube, and then there's overground. There's no in between. There's no real underground. There's not an avenue where they're tried and tested in an underground format, whether at the club or the radio station, before it actually reaches a commercial platform. Do you know what I mean?
But if you think about, like, in terms of publications, like mainstream publications weren't talking about grime before this actual concert happened. Okay. In terms of that, don't you think it's kind of more progressive like that?
Because I feel it's contrived, because it's not like grime came around last week. So whether or not someone was to pick up the pen and start writing about a scene that's been around for 10 years, to me, I'm looking beyond that. I'm saying, what's the agenda here? What's your angle? Because you're talking about an artist, a Skepta, what is it, and like 32, 33, he's been doing this for the past 10 years. Yeah. Like, he's a gem in the UK underground scene. Why now do you start kind of giving him plaudits?
What's wrong with that? Let me jump in there. Here's an opportunity, yeah, and let's not pretend, because I ain't got time for this pretending anymore. Let's not pretend that a lot of people haven't seen that grime is getting some sort of recognition from people that didn't give it any recognition before, and it's starting to get a crowd that doesn't look like the crowd it did look 10 years ago. Yeah, and because that's happening, a lot of men have pulled out the old grime books. The underground has been brought to the mainstream by the very first pioneer, which is Dizzy Rascal. So this ain't new territory, and I don't believe that you can bring the whole underground to the mainstream. The whole fact that it's called underground is that's where it resides. The mainstream is the overground, and the underground is the underground. Some people will transpire and descend on upwards, or ascend on upwards, should I say. Do you get what I'm saying? But other than that, we're just watching a new era, a new group of people with a grime legend, which is Skepta, heading the next movement. And at the end of the day, it's happened loads of times. It's happened with Kano, it's happened with Dizzy Rascal, it's happened with, I go fast to say, it's happened with J2K, Roll Deep. You know what I'm saying? It's just the same thing looped over on itself. Whether Skepta goes further with this for his own personal career and brings a few people with him, that may happen. But as a scene, as soon as he leaves and hits mainstream, there'll be someone here to replace that gap that he may leave.
I saw a girl I know, she's 20, yeah? And talking about, if you just got into grime, you're late. But I'm thinking, so what were you doing when you were 9 years old? Going to, like, come on, like, stop lying. Like, these people are lying. These people that go to a boiler room in BBK shirts, they're lying, bro.
Exactly.
They're lying.
When I tell people, yeah, I know every Kano lyric post 2007, I know that by heart. Dizzy Rascal, pre-2007, I know them by heart. I know where these guys, what radios they were on, how they came into what crew, because man was immersed into that, and I knew what that was all about. Now, there was a gap where everybody, because I believe that most grime guys were hip-hop fans, not deep hip-hop fans, but on the surface of like Rockefeller, kind of like that, do you get what I'm saying? Dipset, Jay-Z fans. And the chance, when they got a chance to rap, they took that chance because they believed that's who they wanted to be. Do you get what I'm saying? And they believed that that was acceptable commercial, like hip hop was. So they took that chance. Now we're watching everybody slowly be like this. Because remember, if you're a legend, yeah, in a scene that's only been going for 10 years, it's easy for you to look at what's going on and be like, if I go back, I'll go back to that same place where I was. Do you get what I'm saying? So when everyone's like, oh, Grime's so good, and they start mentioning the new guys like novelists, and then they're like, oh, this music, this wave, people like Kane will be like, and even Skepta and Wiley, they'll be like, if I go back, we the legends of that. Do you get what I'm saying? So there's a place for us there, and I don't say there's a problem with that, but let's just not pretend that like, Grime's been going for 10 years and we've been sitting here grafting. Well, we killed it at one point. We left it alone for at one point.
Well, this is the problem, because if you get someone picking up the Grime narrative at a point that's convenient for them, they do miss out the important characters that were there on the rooftops of Deja or on Rinse FM, because they only know the story second hand. Do you know what I mean? They know the story through YouTube. They know the story from their older brothers. That's what they're telling them. They're hearing someone else's tape pack of a Nasty Crew set on a Monday night. Do you know what I mean?
You know what's worse than that though? It's not even that I don't have a problem with the young kids that weren't around when it was out. And I'm speaking from someone that I did and don't care about Grime. Like it doesn't speak to me, innit? And I don't mean that in any disrespect. I respect the culture. I respect what it is. I think Wiley, Skepta, Kano, they're so important to UK music, and I'll never take that away from anybody. So I don't mean it as a disrespect to the founders of the culture, but I'm not going to pretend that it meant something to me because it didn't. When you lot were listening to Dizzy and I was listening to Skinny and Kalashnikov and Black Twang and people
we was
like
listening
that.
to Kalashnikov as well though.
Clash kind of sat in the middle. But my point is that we had a different scene. And a lot of people, and like I said, I don't have a problem with the youngers that are like, you know, they were 9 when it came out. And I have a problem with the people that were in my world, laughing at Grime, like championing MF Doom and Dilla and Madlib. Suddenly now they're at Boiler Room like, yeah man, oh, do you remember back in the day when Jammer was doing this and Skepta was just like, you were laughing at this music, but now it's cool and it's safe because it's safe because you're not going to get bored up in a rave.
I say to someone, you look cool.
That's what they call the
But you see now that it's becoming popular, and say like Kanye coming over, giving a cosign, bringing him out or whatever. Say to the younger people who are say 17, 18, getting into music and liking that. Surely it's not bad for them to get this as an entry point into Grime music.
Everyone needs an entry point. So
can I mention something
if that
quickly?
expands your universe, then if Kanye expands your universe or Drake expands your universe, then so be it. But you still need to take the position that you are a pupil of the scene. You can't come into the universe and be like, oh, yeah, I know it all now.
Okay,
I was there. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
Because you will definitely offend people.
So let me ask you this, So if a 19-year-old kid comes into Grime right now, and he's a Stormzy fan and a Novelist fan or whatever, but he then says, but I don't give a shit about Wiley, fuck Wiley. A real Grime fan is gonna go, who the fuck are you talking? Like what? How you mean fuck
that's
Wiley?
me.
Yeah.
I don't really know as far as taking the underground to the mainstream, but I do think there is definitely a change, and we can see like through Skepta, through BBK, through Stormzy, who's big and they're huge right now, that people are becoming more accepting of Grime. And it's like, you know, we have to look at it. Kanye West, who's a global multi-millionaire, who's a global figure, and Skepta, they were headlining the show together. He wasn't just a warm-up act as we're used to seeing. They were actually all on one stage as equals. I think that's progressive, if you ask me. There's publications that would have never touched Grime before, and they're now writing about Skepta and Kanye West because of it. So I think we can only say it's progressive for the scene. Like, we can't say right now whether or not what will transpire because of it. There'll definitely, I think, be a track, but we just have to wait and see. But it's all moves and steps in the right direction, I feel. It's all positive.
I saw the interview that he done for Fader, where he went out to America recently and they interviewed him and he started talking about, he's like, this is my religion, and it's about time that they're going to start following our religion in terms of what we've been doing. He's just following what he's ever wanted to do, and good things are starting to happen after a decade of grinding in what he does. And I remember in Ace Hood Flow, tune I was listening to on the way here, that Skepta put out, he goes, never got any money for a year off music at all, but I know Rome weren't built in a day. 10 years later, Kanye West comes over, co-signs him on a whole performance. There it is. If that's not mainstream, what is?
Yeah.
So I feel like he knows exactly where he's going for what his culture is, and it's not about like recently. Wiley just signed to Ireland this week, and I heard bare offers got put out to Skepta, but he ain't gonna turn around and say, "Yo, let me go take a deal." He's hot by himself right now. Boy Better Know as an independent label are working much better than them working with any other label.
And again, Wiley is part of Boy Better Know as well.
Yeah.
So it